I'm going to begin with you, Laura. I was just wondering, when you were writing this novel, was there somewhere at the back of your mind that always made you think maybe one day this could be turned into a series for television?
Well, thank you for taking the time today. I will just say that no, there was not, because what I was worried about was even finishing the book, because I started writing it all the way back in 2011 and I put it down so many times. I was having a lot of trouble.
You literally threw it out.
I threw it out. I threw a book copy in the trash.
Much to my chagrin, because I thought it was great. So.
And it really wasn't until I had my son, our son, in 2016, that I realized this was sort of the primal story of someone becoming a mom. And that's when I sort of unlocked what the novel was. But I was so relieved and excited that I found my way into the book. I don't think it was until after I actually put that aside that I started thinking about it as anything else.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, because you created these characters, so I'm sure you have this kind of sort of fuzzy or maybe even quite precise images of what the characters look like when you were writing them. I'm interested. Do you now picture the cast? Has the cast in the show replaced the images in your head you once had?
That's such a good question, and 100%. So what's really weird about how I usually write is that I never sort of see a character's face. Their face always looks sort of fuzzy. Sometimes I see their hair like around their face, and then it's like a fuzzy face. And now whenever I picture the characters, or if I'm doing a reading and I have to read, it's Jen Garner's face on Hannah Hall, and it's Angourie Rice's face on Bailey. And it's and Nikolaj Coster-Waldau's face on Owen. And it's so disconcerting to me because I am so lucky that these are the people playing these characters. And yet now Hannah has a face, and it's a beautiful face, but it's a face. It's no longer fuzzy.
And Josh, I was wondering about how different it is writing for kind of TV than it is for film. I mean, the notion of having to kind of build up these suspenseful intervals where episodes kind of end and begin, the pacing, I imagine, is entirely different. Does it require in some ways a different skill set to when writing a movie?
Well, it's interesting because I started in TV. My first job was on The West Wing. John Wells hired me and taught me most of what I knew and know. What's interesting is we actually thought this was going to be a film, and Hello Sunshine came to us and said, we think it's a 7-episode limited. And Laura and I talked through the book, and we looked at where the episodes, might end. And we thought, oh, wow, this really could be a limited. And moreover, there feels like there's too much mystery here for just 2 hours. For me, I actually think of this particular show as a 7-hour movie. I mean, there's a real arc, and I think one of the most beautiful things is watching the arc of Jen and Bailey. As Hannah and Bailey. See, now I'm doing it. But of Hannah and Bailey as they start far apart, come together, move apart, come together. I mean, that to me is what really makes this special, that it is a thriller rooted in hope, that it is, you think it's a love story between Hannah and Owen, and really it's a love story between Hannah and Bailey. And so I don't think that could have played out over 2 hours the way we would have wanted it to. So to me, it's less about, obviously the muscles are slightly different. But in this case, it's really, do you have your episode outs? And Laura is such a great writer, and there are so many great twists and turns that was never an issue. That was never the hard work here.
Yeah, what was the adaptation process like for you guys? Was it almost, when you sort of had to turn a novel into a 7-part series, does it become a game really of what you keep in, what you don't keep in?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I have lots of bruises, no. Seriously, though, what you love as a writer, and especially in a writer's room, we had a great group of writers who we worked with, but you love a compass, a true north, right? And Laura was the true north. And that was what was really very helpful is, for us, it was less about what are we going to cut out, although obviously you can't get all the words of a novel into a show, but more about how are we going to expand? What things are we going to do to add to the experience? Can we go a little deeper on the drama and the stakes? And so let's blow out the marshal's office a little bit. Let's give Grady a boss, Maris, played by the inimitable Michael Hyatt, to really push stakes there. Can we see a little bit more about Hannah's backstory, go into their past and see her with her grandfather, which will then, explain to us in episode 4 why she behaves a little bit the way she does in the present. So to me, it was about opportunities to expand while again, staying very true to this fantastic mystery, which Laura had had woven, but then also to this unique insight and wisdom that I think that Laura brings in this book and all her books about the human condition.
Says her husband. Says her husband.
Thank you so much for your time today, anyway, guys, and best of luck with the release of the show.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey!